Okay, so if you've been following along, watching all of my videos, first off, I mean, thank you. If you're watching all my videos, I mean, that's almost like, how do you manage to do that? Because I've been posting a lot. I posted 27 videos, to actually like 29. 2 were trades, and then 27 were about draft picks, which, of course, if you're a math fan out there, means that there's 5 left out. Why did I leave 5 out? Is it because I hate those teams? Obviously not. It's because really the reality was I just didn't have time to during the chaos of the draft. So now I'm making a quick video just recapping those 5 teams that I didn't get to, just giving some thoughts on those 5 picks if you want to hear them. So those 5 picks, and part of why I didn't make videos on them is because these were guys that I didn't create film studies for pre-draft because I just wasn't as into them, I guess, as other people were. That's part of it. Like all these 5 picks, they're just, I guess the way I'll say it is, they're not picks I would have done. A couple feel like insane reaches to me, quite frankly. So let's just talk about the 5 that I'm talking about are Houston at 15, Washington at 16, Tennessee at 18, Dallas at 24, and Cincinnati at 31. So the first one was Kenyon Green. Kenyon Green for Houston at 15 feels like just an insane move to me. I guess, so here's my thing about Green. I don't know. He's just not someone I was too high on, quite frankly. So the average Kenyon Green game when he played guard was pretty good. So, like, that's the positive. I just feel like Zion Johnson's average game was better. And I also feel like Kenyon Green had some legitimately, like, not good games involved in this. So that's my biggest concern about him is he had some rough games. He did. The Arkansas game still sticks out at me. That was a bad game. So if you're saying, hey, maybe there were external things at play, I don't know what happened. Maybe the Houston Texans talked to him and said, hey, what happened there? And he gave a good answer. That's possible. But I feel like there was a lot more valuable players that they could have gone with and instead decided to go with Green. Green was one of those guys who I was just lower on than most, though. Plenty of people had a late first-round grade on him, so it's not that bad. But I had a late second-round grade on him, so that might be just more of a me thing. Like, same thing with Johan Dotson at 16 for Washington. I know my podcast co-host Kyle is probably saying, thank you, perfect pick, because he loved Johan Dotson and thinks Dotson is great. I did not love Dotson. I did not even have Dotson as a second-round talent. So that just kind of goes to show the disparity of just how we can evaluate wide receivers in general. I've always said about wide receivers, it's the most difficult position to evaluate. It's really hard to figure out which wide receivers are good and which ones aren't. So, it has one of the lowest hit rates in the NFL, and it's also part of why, like, round 3 receivers still have pretty decent hit rates, because it's just a hard position to evaluate. So, one thing I like about Dotson is he is kind of like a do-it-all type of guy. I think he'll be solid. I don't hate him. I just worry about his ceiling kind of a little bit, and I typically draft receivers for ceiling, whereas other positions I might draft for floor. So, it's kind of just a personal preference to some degree as well. Part of me feels like you could have waited until round 2 and gotten a similar level talent, or in my opinion, even better talents are still available that did not go. So, but again, that's a personal preference to some degree. 18, the Titans go with Treylon Burks. This is another personal preference one. I got probably one of the biggest things I got criticism for was when I didn't have Burks as a top 10 receiver. And listen, are there things to like about Burks? Yeah, and I actually think this is the perfect scenario for him. One thing I kept hearing was he could be the A.J. Brown. And part of my response is, okay, are you really going to be A.J. Brown? Like, how many teams run that scheme, run that system? Really, 2 of them. It's the Titans and the Falcons. I guess there's a couple more you could argue. But for the most part, there's only like a couple of slots for A.J. Brown. And the Titans don't need another A.J. Brown. They have an A.J. Brown. Well, then they got rid of their A.J. Brown, so now they're getting an A.J. Brown replacement. Now, I don't think Burks is the route runner that A.J. Brown is. He is kind of that guy, though, who he's big and he's fast for his size. So that, 1-2 combo is interesting to me. I could be wrong about Burks because a lot of people like him. And typically when everyone likes someone and I don't like him, I feel like, it's just as often I'm wrong as I am right, at least. Probably I'm wrong more often than I'm right. But I like to pretend like I at least get 50% there on those hot takes. So we'll see. Again, that's one I could definitely be wrong about. The other 2, so Tyler Smith to the Cowboys at 24, he's one of those guys who, like, when I started watching film of him, I wasn't that impressed, I guess, and maybe I need to give him another shot. He's one of those guys who I'm willing to say, you know what, he's kind of a guy who I said, okay, he won't go in the first round, whatever. I don't have to spend that much time focusing on him. I went to the other offensive linemen and kind of felt it there. Later in the draft process, he kind of shot up boards and eventually went here at 24 to Dallas. So maybe, again, he's someone who I definitely could be wrong about and maybe need to be higher on. I do think that Dallas getting off an offensive lineman here makes some sense. I think that there's a lot of value here. They could have gone defense. They could have gotten a George Karlaftis, who I feel like a lot of teams are going to, at the end of this, feel like, we probably should have drafted George Karlaftis, or even like Jermaine Johnson, who I'm not as high on, but other people are. So, he's another guy who I think that there was an option there. But again, maybe part of it is like they like the idea of Parsons being able to do whatever. And if you get someone who's too good on the edge, well, then that kind of, you lose that value of Parsons. So that's where things get weird. I guess you also could have gotten Devin Lloyd, right? And just had two guys who can play edge and play linebacker and really get wild with it. But again, if you like Tyler Smith and think he'll be a good offensive lineman, who am I to judge too much? Because they could use an offensive lineman. So there you go. Finally, at 31, the Cincinnati Bengals going with Daxton Hill, which is a weird one to me. I saw some people mock Daxton Hill to the Bengals, and I didn't really love it then. I still don't love it. I mean, their dream scenario was Tyler Linderbaum falling to them. He didn't. Maybe they could have traded up. I don't know. Their division rivals snatched him from them. So is there another good offensive lineman there? I don't know. Maybe you just, go back, sign somebody, and call it a day, because I still feel like they could use one more guard. Other than that, their line is pretty good, though. And the other thing we were talking about is corner, and there was, Andrew Booth did not go in round one. He was an option on the table. Some people really like Daxton Hill. In fact, some people feel he could be a, slot corner type guy, which if that's how you feel, Bengals could use something like that. That's an option on the table for him to be, because the Bengals have two good safeties. That's kind of where things get weird. Von Bell and Jesse Bates were both good for them last year. So why get Daxton Hill? Why not just let them do their thing? Maybe this opens you up to where you can move off one of those guys. I don't know. But again, kind of a weird move. But there's also some people that just really like Daxton Hill. I didn't really love it, quite frankly. All these guys I didn't love. But at the end of the day, like, if you're someone who loves him, okay, go out and get best player available, because you don't have that many flaws in your roster. You have a couple that you need to fix, but there still is some free agency to do that. So as a whole, yeah, I think that this is a, interesting draft for sure. Wanted to give you my thoughts on those 5 players, because I did not make full videos on them, but just give a quick, general thoughts on those. I'm sure everyone's going to be mad at me, because after your team drafts someone, all you want to hear is that player is awesome. But those were just guys I wasn't as big of a fan of. So just letting you know how I feel about that. But yeah, what do you guys think? Why do you think I'm wrong? Let me know in the comments below. Always love hearing from you, whether you're being nice or being mean. And of course, as always, thanks for watching.